Hey guys, Spider Slayer here, and welcome back to Comic Book Corner Classic. That's right, guys, the channel where Spider Slayer does all reviews for classic comic books going back from the year 1999 and all the way down to, I guess, when comics started. So, for a lot of you who know me, my name again is Spider Slayer. I have another channel where I do modern day comics, and it's called Comic Book Corner. But today on Comic Book Corner Classic, we are going to be reviewing the Incredible Hulk issue number 377, an iconic issue that takes place early 1991. This issue was a big issue in the Hulk series. At one point, the value was pretty high on this book, but now mint condition, which this one is, there is absolutely nothing wrong with this book whatsoever, is a mere $3. That's right, guys. So value-wise, it's not that great. And reading the story too, it's a little cheesy, but it's the 90s. You know what I'm saying? The characters are dressed, in that 90s style, and it's a little cheesy, but it is a decent story because it has um, Hulk's or Bruce Banner is he's I don't know, he's battling for his mind between his personalities, between Bruce, between Gray Hulk, and between Green Hulk. And Doc Samson is basically in his mind with the Ringmaster. Um, I think that's what he was called. And we can see that the personalities are fighting amongst each other of who wants control. And as we go through this issue, um, we can see again they're battling each other. Who's in control? Who wants to be the Hulk? Is it Bruce? Is it Green? Is it Gray? And the big thing is that it always goes back into Bruce's childhood, and we see this monster, and we can see there's this monster that's always lurking back in his childhood. And as we're reading through the issue, we're trying to figure out who this monster is. But as you read, you find out that it is his father, and it's an abusive father who's always beating the family and beating Bruce and beating the mother and things like that. And you can see that he's beating the kids. And he was a scientist as well, doing radiation experiments and stuff like that. Um, Again, it was a pretty cool issue. It kind of sets a standard, I guess, on abusive families and things like that. And that's what's sad. You hate to see that a father, killing his wife and abusing his child. And that's part of the reason why Bruce never showed his emotions. And and you can see why he's really good at that, because also he's got to control the Hulk issue with inside of him. So always from a young child, he's been able to handle his emotions for the most part. Later on in the series, you see that the family's trying to escape the mother, and Bruce, young Bruce, they are trying to escape, and then the monster appears, and she's trying to leave him. And at this point in the book, when I was reading it, I thought, oh wow, this is the monster. The monster is the father. And as we find out, is that the father just beats the mom to death, and that's what happens. He winds up winning. I mean, he winds up beating the mother and kills her. And Bruce never showed that emotion. He was in shock the whole entire time, and because he was afraid, that his father would get angry at him. Um, so on an abusive, like on a real life standpoint, this is a very touching issue. Again, character drawings and stuff is a little cheesy. You can see what she's wearing here. It's all 90s clothes, and Betty here's in her little ponytail and stuff like that. And Bruce and Betty are married at this point. She's in the doctor's office trying to figure out what's going on, and he's dealing with this multiple personality disorder, and they're trying to get him out of it. Um, towards the end of the issue here, coming close to it, we see that, you know, the smart side of Bruce here, we can say, which is, you know, the Gray Hulk, was never good with the ladies. He was always afraid of them, and he stayed in the books just to be safe because it was a safe passage for him. Um, again, we see here, again, coming towards the issue, we see that Bruce, Gray Hulk, and Green Hulk are going to their mother's grave site, and Father comes along again, and they're like, monster. And then Bruce finally comes to grips with his personality. He says, you know what? He's like, I'm going to show no emotions to you. He's like, I'm not going to be afraid of you. And the monster eventually shrinks down, and he conquers his fear of his father. And we can see that his father is this little man, and they're saying, the two Hulks were like, that's it, this is the guy, he's the monster. And he was. His father was abusive. I mean, we can see that you can be any size, shape, or whatever it may be, and yet you can hurt people. It doesn't matter how big or strong you are. And then once, you know, Bruce sees the image of his mother, her request was for all of them to work together and come as one. And you can see eventually that they all go into Bruce, and Bruce is coming out of it. He's waking up, but he's going through a transformation, and one that you've never seen before at this point in the Hulk series. And we can see that Betty is getting impatient, and she's like, I don't care what Doc is doing, I'm going in there. But as she goes in, you can see that the door's opening, and it's a Green Hulk. And we can see that he says, honey, he's like, I'm home. And we see this cool picture of the Hulk right here. And that was a nice closing page. Great artwork there. And here was the first appearance of the smart Green Hulk. And it was a pretty cool ending to that particular book. This book was written by Peter David, and the pencils were done by Dave Neon. Again, very, very, very interesting book. It is an iconic issue in the early 1990s for the Incredible Hulk series. Like I said, drawings are a little cheesy and stuff like that, but if you can get past it, it's kind of a touching story because it has to deal with abusive families, and in any day and age, it's always a big key in this world. And again, it doesn't matter how big or how small someone can be. They can always be a very abusive person. So I'm not a huge fan of the Incredible Hulk, but again, it was a good issue. And if you guys are interested in it, try to find it in the back issues. I know you can get it for very cheap, but I don't see too many of these. They're pretty hard to find, actually, and I've had this one since I was a kid, going back to 15, 16 years old, and I maybe read it once, and I put it away, and I haven't read it since. So this was the first time I read it, and that's why it's in such great condition. But that's it, guys. So that was my rundown of the Incredible Hulk issue 377. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy watching Comic Book Corner Classic. Subscribe today if you like, and check out my other channel if you're new to me, Comic Book Corner. So thanks, guys. Spider Slayer signing out. Bye.